Hi everybody, welcome to the tech talk on the all-new Hangar 9 OV10 Bronco. Please excuse the less than ideal conditions. This is about 2 days after my return from the Top Gun competition where we soft launched this new product for Hangar 9, and because of the success, our marketing team have decided that we're going to actually move the launch forward. So it was a case of no matter what the weather, we're going to do a tech talk. So no big deal. It's a little bit cold, a little bit windy, but bear with me for that. So here we have it. Our latest creation from Hangar 9, the OV10 Bronco. It's a 109-inch span between 1/5 and 1/4 scale model of the very famous observation and light attack aircraft, the Bronco. All balsa and ply, made by one of our existing vendors who also made the 60cc Oscar and the 20cc Mustang and P47. What that means primarily is that we get to use the printed covering, which is a big favorite of mine. It was something that I wanted to develop when I joined Hangar 9 5 years ago. I set a bit of a mission statement that I didn't want to do any more ultra coat covered warbirds, and this is where we're at. So we have a printed vinyl covering which is slightly textured, and all of the artwork and all of the graphics and all of the weathering that you see on this airplane is exactly as it comes out the box, which includes the shaded rivets, which includes the exhaust staining, as I said, the panel lines, the hatches. That's everything printed onto the covering. Fully fuel proof, completely smooth and ready to paint over as well. It's another thing that we've never really pushed home on our printed covering airplanes, is that material can be just scuffed and painted. In fact, not even scuffed, it's got a texture to it. But what I'm trying to say is there's no raised section for like the stars and bars or the Marines or any of the detail on there. That won't show through. You can just paint straight on top of this covering. Airplane's 109-inch, which is big. It's very big, giant scale airplanes. You can probably see in the pictures or right now. One of the things about the Bronco which is really cool is, despite its size, it packs down into a really small space. A lot of questions asked about how to transport this airplane, and there are various ways. For those with a trailer and those with big SUVs like mine, which is say a Suburban or Expedition long wheelbase, I can fit this in with just taking the outer wing panels off. So 2 screws per panel underneath, 2 3mm screws, and the outer panels come off. And then I can choose to whether I want to transport it on the undercarriage or put the gear up and on its belly. The sponsons, the fuselage pods, are removable on the side of the center fuselage, so they don't get damaged in transit, and yeah, it transports really well. Now, for those without trailers and without big SUVs, the OV10, believe it or not, is a superb option because it dismantles into so many components, so many sections. It's one, the center fuselage pod, which is straight down the middle to the back there. 2 engine pods, nacelles almost, but they're fuselage engine pods left and right. 2 screws gets those off of the wing center section. As I explained before, 2 screws takes the outer wing panels off, and an aileron and flap lives with those. Then the elevator comes off. 2 screws either side to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 manageable size sections. So you could literally fit this aeroplane into something small like a Mini Cooper, a Prius, anything really. So it's one of the real virtues about the OV10, is that it'll pack down, transport and store in really serviceable, convenient size components. Weight wise, we have a flying weight of between 43 pounds was the lightest one we've flown with, and then 49 pounds is the heaviest we've flown with thus far. Such a big discrepancy in weight because of the different power plant options or power package options available. We've set it up for gas and electric, so there's no modification needed if you want to go with gas or electric. Everything is in there to do either. Very indicative of Hangar 9 kits. There's fueling points, there's vent points in the fuselage already cut for those that want to go gas. There's a battery tray in there for those that want to go electric. There's a sliding motor box for those that want to go electric. So yeah, there's no definitive power option for this. It's very flexible. I'm looking forward to people putting 4-stroke single-cylinder gas engines in there. I know one of our European team guys is actually already setting his up to work with genuine turbine turboprops, the P20 turboprops, and I know King Tech are working on a small turboprop, and also Zykoy. So we're going to see these authentically powered in 2021 with turboprop power systems, which I can't wait for. That's going to be super cool. Right now, we have flown the prototype models on a range of different power systems. DLE 30cc is our gas option. We test flew with DLE 20s, and whilst it flew in a very scale manner, I felt it was a little bit underpowered, and there's so much area in there that the 30s fitted. So we're recommending DLE 30 or a 30cc single cylinder 2-stroke for the gas option. For the electric, we have flown with as small as a rimfire 120 on 6S per motor. So one individual 6S 5000 per side, which looked crazy because you take that big canopy off, which I'm sure we'll see later on, and there was just one battery in there. And it flew great. It flew in again in a very scale type manner, same as it would on 20cc gas. We then moved up in testing to the rimfire 170 on 12S, so 4 batteries, 2 per side, and that flew superbly, really well. And then my favorite power system is what I have in this particular one, which is the plane that I've just competed with, is the E-Flight 180. I love that motor. I mean, it's not the cheapest motor in the world, but it's a very high quality, efficient electric brushless motor. That I'm flying on 12S 5000s, so 2 6S packs per side, but I've also flown extensively with 2S2P, so 4 batteries, doubling up on duration per side. So 8 individual 6S packs I've flown this aeroplane with at 4,000 milliamp, 5,000 milliamp, and even 7,000 milliamp. I did a plus 20-minute flight with 12S2P 7000s during the testing of this aeroplane. And whilst it was heavy, the wing area on this aeroplane is colossal. It's so lightly loaded that it handled it superbly. The gear's stout, so yeah, it's not my preferred system, but for those that want to fly duration, it's ideal. Yeah, lots of servos in this airplane because there's individual control surfaces. There's 6 alone on the wing. So yeah, bear that in mind. The good news is they're very small surfaces and the plane is relatively slow flying, so they don't have to be mega high-end servos. We're using the Spectrum 6380s as our primary servo in this airplane, which I think retail around about $30 to $40. So it's not going to break the bank having to buy $150 servos per control surface. The one surface that I would recommend a really good servo on is the elevator. It's a large area and it's a single servo, so we use the Spectrum 6310 or 6320 on that one. Some of the finer details on the OV10 that I'd like to talk about during this tech talk are the scale details. Stuff like the scale detail on the top of the wing here, scale antenna mounts. Excuse them, they did have antennas on, but unfortunately the drive back from Florida, my shabby packing, they've got knocked off, which is no problem. I just put a metal or carbon rod in there and redo those. You may notice the ordnance, the Sidewinder missiles on the wingtips, and also the large under fuselage drop tank. Those come with the kit. They're standard and come in every kit, as do the gear doors. You may notice the operational gear doors on the main and the nose fuselage. Those are completely optional to use. Whilst they come in the kit with all the hinges, you don't have to use them. They add quite a bit of complexity to the build, and each one of them is operated by a micro servo, so 6 micro servos, lots of extension leads, and a computer radio with sequencing is required, but they're totally optional. We've done a lot of flying with the prototype with no gear doors, so you can put those on later or completely omit those if you like. Another thing noteworthy is the cockpit. All of that cockpit detail is already done, ready fitted. You just have to glue the pilot, which also comes inside in the kit. Spinners, they are 3 3/4 inch plastic spinners, which are pre-painted and come in the kit also. Undercarriage, we've got a lot of questions about. It's super stout, long, trailing link undercarriage, which is ideal for grass. This undercarriage actually is from the same vendor as the aeroplane and available as a separate item. They'll arrive with the kits. That's going to retail at $499. It's a full electric system, comes with the heavy-duty aluminium legs and the wheels. Has an electronic control box, which I really like, the fact that you can operate the gear from the undercarriage. I don't have to switch the radio on, sorry, from the control box. You don't have to switch the radio on. You can press a button and cycle the gear on the bench, which I really like. Super handy when you're dismantling and putting in the car or getting out. You don't have to balance a radio, you just literally press the button and go. Fuselage rear pod is fiberglass, pre-painted, that's obviously in the kit. The price of the airplane, we're going to set the map at $1,599 for the airframe itself and $499 for the complete electric undercarriage system, which may sound a lot of money, but for an airplane this size and this capable, we feel like it represents a very good investment and value for money in its class. So now time to take a bit of a closer look, particularly at the inside of the OV10. Just before we dive into the cockpit area, I mentioned it earlier, but noteworthy in my opinion is the fuselage pods here. I made those removable. Whilst you can glue those on if you like, I find them a little bit vulnerable if you're carrying the airplane with its gear up. It will actually rest on those, so I've used 2 4mm screws per side, and those can easily drop off for transport. Same with the ordnance. The missiles, the sidewinders and the pylons can be removed. You can remove the missile from the pylon and the pylon from the wing. Again, 2 4mm screws, and also the drop tank, 2 4mm screws, which is the same size as the wing removal screws as well, and the stab. So 1 4mm driver, and you can go around and remove everything. So that's nice and easy. Another thing that makes the OV10 an ideal model is the massive access area afforded to us by removing this cockpit. Double hatch latch system is pre-installed at the factory, so pull those back and away this comes. As you can see, no matter whether you do gas or electric, you have a cavernous fuselage area here with lots of room to work. And just to show that, whilst I'm not going to fly with the 2-piece setup today, I have an installation here of 12S 2P. So 12S packs joined together, 2 6S packs joined together as a 12S here, and then another one for double the duration. So if we remove those, you can see how much space there is inside this fuselage. It makes an ideal installation for electric or gas, whatever you want to do. Another noteworthy feature is the balance of the model came out superbly well, better than I'd ever anticipated. So there's no need to have to shift everything forward. There's not an ounce of weight in this aeroplane for balance. As you can see, the batteries are moved relatively close to the center of gravity to get a flying feel, which I like, but you have room to maneuver. So if you prefer a more sedate airplane, a little bit softer on the elevator, you can move your batteries or move your installation of the gas system forward and backwards to suit. I have here the 3 Smart Packs receiver packs. 2 are for the power safe receiver, which I have underneath the center of the wing, and then this one here is for the electric retract system. I'm using smart batteries throughout. These are the 6S 5000s. I've flown it with the 30C, the 50C and the 100C equivalents, and really not that much of a difference because it's quite a low draw power system. I think we measured 85, 87 amps at static using these propellers, which I believe are 2210 Falcons, so well within the limits. I have 2 Avian 120 amp ESCs here and here, and looking forward a lot to when we have SRXL in the power safe receivers to be able to use reverse feature on these particular setups. So when I land, I can reverse short landing, dead stop, and then actually back the aeroplane into the pits is something I'm very much looking forward to. The electric retract you see at the front here with the stout aluminium brackets, it's the OEM gear system from the factory. It's been working superbly. We've had probably well over 1,000 cycles on each of the 3 prototypes with no issues, so super happy with that. Trailing link undercarriage, which I talked about. Nice springy undercarriage, makes it an ideal candidate for grass field ops. I'm sure when we do the flight talk, I'll be showing you as much grass field ops as I am operating from the asphalt. So lots of ground clearance. So if you've got less than perfect field, this is the giant scale warbird for you. And yeah, with that, I've got to say, you know, I know I'm biased, but one of the many reasons why I chose the OV10 as our subject matter for our giant scale twin is its friendliness, is its practicality. There are a lot of twin warbirds out there, you know, straight away the Mosquito comes to mind, the P-38 comes to mind, that are quite a handful to fly. Narrow, skinny wings, high taper, engines far apart, they make for a handful of an airplane and not really ideally suited from rough runways. This thing is like a giant trainer, twin engine trainer. If you took away the military colour scheme and put on a sport colour scheme, it's like an ideal flying platform. So yeah, it's definitely one of the guiding factors in why I chose the OV10. That's about it really, covering what's inside, what's outside. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions, and I'm sure they'll be asked and answered where applicable. With that in mind, let's move on to the flight talk before it gets too windy.